Okay. Okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's great. Can't you see? It's one the thing is smaller. If I remove this one now, can you see? Okay. It's great. Yes, we are one with it. Huh? Mm. And they become Jack cut. No, it's good the way you come. Even if they pick, I say people communicate now. People communicate, pick, tell them. Then it's time for the project. I can even do the code. It's entirely Seeing them here. Are you seeing them here? I know. Hello, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? Please, if you can hear me, can you comment yes? If you can hear me, if you can see me, if you can hear me, I want you to comment. I want to ensure that all can hear me and can see me clearly. Hello, can you hear me? Can you comment if you can hear me? Okay, yes, 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 okay. So glad to hear that you can hear me. Can you see me? Can you see me clearly? Thank you. Hello, can you hear me? Okay. Okay. You are welcome to the program, the webinar on raising a bright and confident child. As we all know, today is the 13th of July 2025, the D-Day for the webinar on raising bright and confident child. So you are all welcome. I'm so glad to see you are here. And I want to let you know that what you're about to learn this night, even in your years in school, you may not be able to learn, to acquire the kind of knowledge you're about to acquire this evening. So I'm so happy that you are here. I'm so happy that you can also see me and hear me clearly. Okay, I want to start with a quote from Malcolm Gladwell. Malcolm Gladwell says, and I quote, that it takes 10,000 hours to master a particular skill. 10,000 hours. So what he's saying that if you see anyone doing something extraordinarily well, it means that that person has put in minimum of 10,000 hours. The book made us to understand the outliers. I don't know how many of us have read the book, The Outliers. It made us to understand that nothing happens by chance. Nothing happens by chance. Any child you see doing so well, any child you see, with great confidence, that it means that someone did the work. Someone is responsible for that. It makes us to understand that nothing happens by chance. So this night, I'm going to unveil to you secrets, principles that you can apply to raise a bright and confident child. So I hope you can see my screen. Now I'm going to start with this, okay? Yes, okay, yes, the slide. Hope you can see the slide. If you can see the slide, I want you to comment yes. I want you to comment yes. If you can see the slide. Yes, if you can see the slide, I want you to comment yes. I want to ensure that everyone will participate with in what we are doing this night. Can you see the slide? Can you see the slide? Okay, I'm so glad you can see the slide. Okay, who is the child? Who is a child? A child is someone under the age of 18. According to Oxford Dictionary, a child is someone who is not yet an adult. A child is someone who is still in his or her formative years. So if you have, someone who is not yet an adult, it means that you still have the opportunity, you still have the chance, you still have everything it takes, to bring out the best. Some of us don't know that these children God has given us, they are not just children, they are just gifts from God. They are gifts from God that God has allowed us to nurture and bring out the best in them. Good. So the next slide. Good. The Holy Book makes us to understand in the book of Psalm chapter 127 verse 4. It says that like arrows in the hand of a warrior are children born in one's youth. What do we understand by that? Children are like arrows in the hands of a great warrior. Now, can someone, I hope we all know what an arrow is. An arrow is meant to be fired. An arrow is not just something you release. An arrow is a weapon. So the Bible likens children to an arrow. What do you do with an arrow? Just like you can see on the screen, an arrow is meant to be drawn out, is meant to be fired. That's exactly how children are. Children are meant to be nurtured. Children are meant to be groomed. Children are meant to be released. If you're a parent and you don't have a vision concerning your children, I bet you may not be able to, train the child in the right way. As a parent, you should have a vision of what that child will be in the future, because that child is a gift that God has handed over to you. What are you going to do with it? The Bible says, fire the child like an arrow. What do you do with an arrow? You fire an arrow, you aim an arrow to a target. That's exactly what you do with a child. Next slide. Now, can you see the screen? Okay. Can someone tell us the difference between this group of children on the screen here? Can someone point the difference? Can someone comment on the difference? What can you observe among the two group of children we have on the screen? Yes. Can someone point out the difference? Okay. Okay. Okay, without wasting much time, we can see that these are all children. The one by the left are children, as you can see them, they are from wealthy homes. While the ones that are the right, the two children are the right, they seem to come from, a poor background. Now, whose fault is it that these children are like this? Is it the children's fault? It's not the children's fault. It is what the parents make out of them. The children came to this world innocently. The only difference is that the ones by the right, are privileged to have parents who have worked so hard for them and make the life easier for them. While the ones by the right are ones whose parents cannot be able to take care of their basic needs. So children are what parents make out of them. The earlier we understand this, the better for us. That children are just like clay in the hands of a potter. If God gives you children and you don't know how to nurture their gift, I bet you those children will grow up into something you never imagined. Okay, the next slide. I'm going to be fast because I want this webinar to last for an hour. Okay, because this webinar is about raising a bright and confident child. When you talk to parents, they say, yes, I want my children to be so bright, to be confident. I want my children to be this. But those parents, unknowingly, in their daily, life, they damage the confidence of their children. When you discuss with them, they say, yes, I want my children to be this, they want my children to be that. Meanwhile, at home, the child is traumatized. The child is stigmatized. The child, any small thing the child does, the parents will land it on him or her. Okay. Now, as you can see, so what are the consequences of parents damaging the children's confidence? You see, number one, the child begins to doubt his abilities. When a child is maltreated, sometimes the parents, do this because that is exactly how their own parents trained them. When they were small, any small thing, their parents will start beating them, flogging them. So invariably, when they raise their own children, at any slightest provocation, they start beating the child. Sometimes you see parents calling their children negative names. I have seen parents calling their children pigs. I've even seen parents that call their children cows. I've seen parents calling their children foolish child. Can you imagine? Foolish child. I've seen parents calling their children, telling their children, you will not amount to anything in life. You see, when children consistently hear these negative words, they begin to build, they begin to doubt themselves. They begin to build negative, self-esteem about themselves. So what are the consequences of parents damaging their children's confidence? Number one, the child begins to doubt his abilities. The child begins to doubt his abilities. When he sees other children doing, amazing things, the child begins to doubt himself. When you trace this, you see that it boils down to the home, the kind of upbringing. Secondly, the child feels unworthy. The child feels unworthy. Anything they are doing outside, you say, hey, it's for them. It's for them. In the classroom, they are teaching. Do you have any question? No. It's not for. It's for them. For them. He feels unworthy to do anything. Thirdly, the child becomes afraid. Once your child becomes afraid of you as a parent, I bet you will not get the best out of that child. Then fourthly, the child develops emotional wound. It develops emotional wound. Then the child begins to feel unimportant. When somebody feels that he is not important, how do you expect the person to do well? How do you expect the child to shine in school? How do you expect the child to come out in public to speak? Then, sixthly, the child becomes withdrawn and silent. The child withdraws and moves into his shell in order to protect himself. Of course, this is what most of us, experienced, while we are small. I can remember when I was small, it was, observed that, in the school, when I was in primary school, it was observed that some children, don't come out to do presentation on the assembly ground. So they made it a mandatory that every child must participate, must present something on the assembly ground. So other people were presenting, they were presenting, when it was my own time, I couldn't imagine myself standing on the stage, looking at people to do that presentation. And you guess what I did? That day I was supposed to do my own presentation. I didn't come to school that day. Then the next day when I came to school, they said this child has not presented. He's supposed to present. Why were you not there? They say, okay, the next day, make sure you come on time to present. The next day, I made sure I was not on the assembly ground that day because I couldn't imagine myself standing, facing the crowd because there was no motivation. I felt unworthy. I was afraid of the crowd. I was afraid that people would judge me. So most of when parents treat their children badly, call their children negative names, evil names, you end up destroying the confidence of these children. These children cannot stand out anywhere to speak, and it affects their performance in school and any other places. The next slide. Okay, now my work has also, brought me, closer to, many people, children that are, bright, children that, confident, I observe this, which is what this webinar is all about, to review to you what I've observed, what some of these children know, what their parents know, that, they apply, to train their children to achieve results. Number one, when you look at these, children that are bright and confident, you see, number one is that they have a very good self-image about themselves. That is number one. They have a very good self-image about themselves. That is what I observe in any child that is so bright and is doing well and has confidence. Number one, he has a very good self-image. And that self-image comes basically from home, the kind of support the child is getting at home. Then number two, the child, has confidence in social, there is a great self-confidence in social setting, because that is the kind of training the child has. So you see, when the child, is well nurtured at home, he goes outside, he sees himself as a light to the world. Then thirdly, the child has great initiative and exhibits leadership abilities. If a child is stigmatized at home, there is no way the child will come out and start exhibiting leadership abilities. The child will just, want to protect himself outside. And as a result, he will move into his shell. And when he does that, it means that the child has withdrawn and will not get the best out of that child. Then again, emotional intelligence. Most of these children that are so bright and confident, they have high emotional intelligence. As we know, emotional intelligence comes as a result of our grooming, the way we are groomed. Then fifthly, self-motivation. They are self-motivated. I hope you can still hear me. Okay, thank you. The next slide. Okay, now let's go to purpose-driven and visionary parents. Now we are moved to the crux of this, seminar, of this webinar. Purpose-driven parents, there are things they know that, just like the Malcolm Gladwell tells us that, nothing happens by accident. When you see a child doing so well, exuding so much confidence, it means that There is someone who has prepared him or her for the purpose. So what do these purpose-driven parents, know? What do they do? Number one, they provide the right home environment for their children to thrive. That is number one. They provide the right home environment for the children to thrive. Sometimes, parents, look at these children as just, children. But purpose-driven parents, look at the future of these children. They look at their future, they know the age where they are, and they treat them accordingly, knowing fully that the child will one day grow up to become someone in life. So having the vision of what the child will be, you create the environment, the right environment to nurture the child, to nurture the gift of the child. If not, the child will pass through your home and will not, become what God has destined that the child will become. Because we can remember the word of God in the book of Jeremiah chapter 1 verse 5, which says, before you were conceived in the womb, I knew you. Before you were conceived in the womb, I knew you. And before you were born, I have ordained you to become a prophet to the nation. So the child that is in your care is not just your child. It's someone who God has brought your way for you to look at. And just as the parable of the talent, what you don't make use of will be taken away from you. And what you're able to use very well, you'll be rewarded. So number one, you provide the right home environment for the child to thrive. I have, been to some families, they say they want their children are not doing well, they are not doing well in school, they are not bright, they are this. Okay, I say at home, what do you do to help the child to do well? In the child's room, what have you provided for the child? What you hear, nothing. Some people don't even have, charts, educational charts at home that the child can be looking at and be grabbing knowledge. Some homes are not even conducive for the child to learn. Morning till night, they are watching cartoon, they are on the tablet, they are on the phone. How do you expect the child to thrive? Secondly, they understand the various stages in the cognitive development of a child and support them accordingly. This is the crux of this webinar. As a parent, right from the point when the child is born till he reaches, an adult stage, you should understand the various stages in the cognitive development of the child. If you don't understand these stages, I bet you will miss out a lot. You will not be able to impact the knowledge, the kind of knowledge the child needs to thrive. We are going to go into this, specifically so that you understand the various stages in the cognitive development of a child, so that you will know how to nurture the child right from the point of birth till the child become, an adult. Then, thirdly, they understand the power of words in raising children. You see, words are very, very powerful in training a child. Words, in fact, is the most important factor in training a child. There is power in spoken words. Just as I told you, I've seen parents calling their children cops. In Igbo, they call it ozu, calling their children cops. If you don't move out of here, you say, I'll kill you. They call their children pig, wow, good. You will not amount to anything. As you are saying it, is changing the psychology of the child. When the child hears such words continuously, the child will begin to doubt his abilities. But when you speak, positive words, good words, words that edify, the child will begin to develop positive image about himself and will begin to thrive. Then fourthly, parenting with end in mind. Sometimes when we see children, we say, this one is just ordinary child. It's not ordinary child. That child will one day grow to become great. Having the end in mind being means having the vision of what the child is going to become. As we know, what is vision? Vision is a mental picture of a preferable future. As a parent, you should be able to know, study your child, know the gift your children have, and be able to direct the child on career choices. Some parents, they because their neighbor is a doctor, they say my child must be a doctor. Because they know someone who is a lawyer, they say my child must be a lawyer. You are making a big mistake. I'm not saying that parents should not, support the child in what he's going to become. But I'm saying that should study the gift. You understand the stuff the child is made of. Because before the child is conceived, God has known him. And before he's born, he has been ordained. So as a parent, you should have the end in the mind. If you see that this child has a kind of gift, because a child could have a gift of words, boldness. When you plot this, point, you see this child can do well as a lawyer. Then you begin to nurture the child. You begin to groom the child. That is what this book is telling us, that when you see something working, something is making it to work. Nothing happens by accident. When you see parents, when they come during open day, they come to school expecting magic to happen. Expecting magic to happen. They suddenly want their children to come out the best. But nothing happens by chance. Those parents, you see their children excelling so much, there is something they are doing. There is something they know. Vision is very paramount for parents. As a parent, you should understand his child. Every child is different, even if they are twins. When you observe them closely, you see that they are different. There are no children that are the same. They have unique gifts, talent, abilities. So parents should always, groom their children with the end in mind. You want your child to be a doctor. Then in your homes, how do you train the child? Do you have charts that the child can be looking at to, acquire knowledge to become a doctor? Do you support the child? Do you take the child out to where he can see things? These are the 10,000 hours. These are the 10,000 hours to master a skill. How early do you start to master such skills? That is the most important thing. Most important. You see a football player, you admire him, yeah, he's doing so well. Most of these football players, they started as children. They receive gift of football. They start playing it so that they will come up. It doesn't matter, it doesn't mind where you are coming from, even if you like be brought up in English speaking countries. I've seen children coming from America to Nigeria here. And there was this occasion, they were asked to introduce themselves and make presentations. These children cannot speak. They cannot open their mouth to speak. So it's not about being brought up in English language in a particular tongue. It's not about confidence. And confidence we are talking about here is something that is built over time. Small and consistent actions, when repeated over time, will lead to a significant and exponential result. Then number 5, they instill core values early in the life of the child. They instill core values very early in the life of that child. No matter how far you want your child or how knowledgeable the child is, if your child doesn't have the right values, he will not be able to follow the right trajectory in life. Core values are very, very important. Values like integrity, values like honesty, values like grit, hard work, diligence, excellence. These are all values. All values parents should instill in their children right at a very tender age. But some children, ask them, what are your family core values? They don't know. They don't know. What is your family vision? They don't know. What is your family mission? They don't know. When you don't have, family values, core values, anyone can deceive your child anywhere. That's why you see some children, when they attend boarding schools, from there, that place, the child will turn out to become something else you never expected. Because you have not instilled in the child the core values. Then, sixthly, encourage curiosity and learning. Sometimes you see parents, when their child asks them a question, Daddy, why is the sun rising from the east? They say, come on, get out here. Come on, get out. When you do that, you have killed that child's curiosity. You have killed the curiosity. The child will not want to ask questions again. And if as a parent, you shun the child like that, do you expect the child to go to school and begin to ask questions when he doesn't understand a particular thing? So parents, visionary parents, they encourage curiosity. When a child asks a question, it is an opportunity for parents to expose the child. It is an opportunity for the child, for the parents to knowledge in the life of that child. Then the next one, they pay attention to the child's gifts. If you are a visionary parent, you should be able to pay good attention to the child's gift. Every child that comes to this world comes with a gift. It comes with a gift. So you should pay attention to this gift, no matter how small the child is. Don't underestimate children. If you underestimate children, I bet you miss a lot from them. Then the next one is they set healthy boundaries and discipline accordingly. They set healthy boundaries. There are things a child is not supposed to do. Yes, discipline is very, very critical. It's very, very crucial in the upbringing of a child. It's very, very critical. A child should be disciplined. Don't, bring your child up in such a way that you allow everything to happen. Your child is misbehaving, you don't discipline the child. No. Even though we are saying that you don't, humiliate, you don't, stigmatize the child, but there should be a way to discipline the child, for the child to understand that in life there are do's and there are don'ts. Then again, they lead by example. This point is very, very critical. Some parents set negative examples for the children at home. So parents, engage in hot arguments. Some parents even, fight at homes. What do you expect that child to do? The child will go out and become a bully. There are things that the child will see at home. The child will become humiliated. The child will become demoralized. The child will become stigmatized as a result of what the child consistently experiences at home. Okay, the next slide. Okay. Okay, just as I said before, as a parent, we should understand, the various stages in the cognitive development of a child. That is very, very key. That is why I want to, dwell on this. Every parent should understand the various stages in the cognitive development of the child. So today we are going to look at the Piaget stages in cognitive development of a child. What are the various stages in the development of a child, cognitively? Okay, according to the Piaget, stages, there are 4 major stages in the development of a child, in the cognitive development of a child. The first one is sensory motor stage. Sensory motor stage. This sensory motor stage starts from the point when the child is born to the age of 2. That is the point some people say, is this not a child? This is a child. They are living. When he grows, you start training. If you think like that, you have missed it. You have missed it. Why? Because at that point, The brain is developing connections. The brain is developing connections, and we are made to understand that the brain, makes up to about 700 connections per second. In every second, the child's brain makes about 700 connections in every second. So how do you come in? How do you groom the child at this stage? Because some people think that it's until the child grows, you start training. The training starts at the point when the child is born. At the point when the child is born, that is when the training starts. As soon as the child lands, you say, the child has not, you are making a big mistake. Okay, how do you come in there? Do you say, okay, because the child, you need to train the child, you start talking to the child, you start teaching the child mathematics, you start taking the child? No. The child learns through physical interactions and sensory experiences. Physical interactions. That is why you see the child at that tender age, he moves the body, moves the body. This is the point where you should be touching the child, singing for the child, reading for the child, trying to interact with the child. Anytime you touch the child, you are impacting on that child. The child cannot talk, but when you smile at the child, a child of 2 months or 3 months, when you smile at the child understands that you are smiling at him and he will smile back. The learning has started. Learning has started. The child also learns by sensory experiences. All this happens in form of reflex action. So what do you do? That is the point where learning starts. You can sing to the child. You can sing, to the child. You can touch the child. Don't say it's the child. You can say, oh yeah, it's time to take your bath. Let's go so that you take it. Not you just carry the child, go, the bath, come out. Don't no. Communicate with the child. Oh yeah, let's go to the sitting room and say, not let's go there, let's no. If you have others, let them sing for the child. Let them relate with the child. Let them talk with the child. Let them smile. Try and move around the child. You see how the child will be looking at you. 2-month-old child, 2 months. The child will be looking at you, showing you that the child can see you. Sometimes when he looks at you, he's beginning to smile because he's learning. So you can also, notice, 6-month-old child, you give the child, spoon to hold, the child will drop it. You don't know what the child is doing. The child is learning the laws of gravity. That when you push something down, it doesn't go up. Instead, it does what it goes down. And you say the child is not learning. The child is learning. When you bring a shaker, you shake it, come again, shake it. Next time you bring that shaker, that child knows that it makes sound. He knows that it makes sound, and he'll be expecting the sound. That is the training. You don't wait till the child grows. You begin to start how to run helter-skelter. It's not. That is where the training starts. So that is the number one stage, sensory motor stage from 0 to 2. Now the next stage is pre-operational stage. Pre-operational stage, that is from age 2 to 7. The child enters into what is called pre-operational stage. And I want to shock you, with this information now, because I know most people don't know this. Do you know about pruning of the brain? Pruning. At the tender age, at the point, the brain of a child begins to prune, meaning that whatsoever connections that the child, develop will become stronger. And whatsoever connections or neurons that are not used often, the brain will cut it off. What do you understand by that? That at the early stage, if you don't start grooming your child at the early stage, the brain will tell these experiences, these connections, go, we don't need it. We don't need it. The brain will cut it off. That is pruning. And the neurons or pathways that are frequently used will become stronger and stronger. That is why you see some people, it looks as if mathematics is running in their family, or maybe gift of words or particular skill is running in the family. Because at the tender age, the child, has been, groomed with this. That is what the child sees. And at that point, the connections begin to get stronger. But when you don't, introduce this, concept early in the life of a child, the brain of the child will say, you don't need this, or yeah, cut it off, remove it. So at the age of 6, the brain is 90% of the brain size of an adult. I don't know, can you hear me? Can you hear me? It seems as if there is network issue. Can you still hear me? Can you comment yes if you can hear me? Hello? Can you comment yes if you can hear me? Okay. Okay, you can hear me? I'm happy to hear that. Okay. Yes. Okay. At the age of 6, the brain is 90% the brain size of an adult. So what are you waiting for? You're waiting for adults. It's just like trying to bend a tree. Have you ever tried to bend a tree? But you can easily bend a plant while it is still tender. You can bend it, but it's very difficult to bend a tree. So you don't wait for the child, to become, stiff before you start, grooming the child. At the age of 6, the brain is 90% the brain size of an adult. Then secondly, pruning. I've already explained pruning. Frequently used neurons are strengthened while the unused ones are removed. So if there are experiences, knowledge, that you don't impact early in the life of the child, the brain will tell these connections, we don't need you, or you go. That is why the child begins to struggle in mathematics, struggle in what? Struggle in areas. When the child grows, you are making things difficult for the child. Then, thirdly, development of language and imagination. This is the point when language and imagination is developed. So when you want to teach your child your local dialect, this is the time you will need to start. It's not when the child grows up, you say you want to teach your child your local language, you want to teach my child Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa. So you will find it very difficult when he passes this stage. Then thirdly, his thinking is not logical at the age of 2 to 7. I'm saying this so that you will know exactly how to train the child, how to come in. Have you ever tried this? You get a child that is between 2 to 7 years. You get 2 cups of water, and they all have the same content, the same shape, the same height, the cup, the same height, the liquid content in it the same. I ask the child, which one is bigger? You say, no, both of them are the same. But get a narrow cup, a narrow glass cup. Then pour one of the water inside the narrow cup, and the water becomes, seems to be bigger. And I ask the child, these 2, cups of water, which one contains, larger or bigger quantity of water? The child will say, now it is the narrow one. Because that is how the child's brain works at that point. As long as something is higher, it means bigger, even though both of them contains exactly the same quantity of water. So that shows that the child is not yet logical. That is the time you need to teach the child through play, through singing, through a lot of means, that doesn't have to be that very logical. That is how to come in at this stage. Then again, the child does not understand concept of conservation. Concept of what? Conservation. You may get two things that are the same. One, you just press it, press one like this, and say which one is bigger again. The child will say the one that is not pressed. Meanwhile, both of them contain the same quantity. So at this preoccupation or pre-operational stage, the child is not yet logical. He does not understand concept of conservation. Now, the next slide is the concrete operational stage. Concrete operational stage from 7 to 11. For parents that know how to groom children, these are the ages they target. It's not when the child becomes 16 years, you start looking for how to train the child, how to do this. These are the stages you need to target. At this concrete operational stage, the child begins to think logically. That is why you see the child suddenly, he begins to do well in mathematics. He begins to understand concepts. The child understands cause and effect. The child begins to understand that when you do this, this one will happen. When you do this, this will be the effect. Before then, the child doesn't have that kind of understanding. Then again, the child begins to understand concept of conservation at the age of 7 to 11. So you can see at this stage, the child is prepared. The child is prepared to even go to boarding school when you know how to nurture the child, when you know how to get the child, through these stages. You can send your child to any school you want, and the child, with the foundation the child has gotten, the child cannot be easily deceived. Because at that point, the child, can think logically. The child understands the family core values. The child understands the laws of cause and effect. The child has been given foundation, because our children will not stay with us forever. We are training them in such a way that they will be on their own in the future time. Good. So that is the concrete operational stage. So the child begins to think in a concrete manner. The next one is the formal operational stage. Formal operational stage, that is the age of 12 and above. 12 and above. So at this stage, the child begins to develop ability to think abstractly, logically, and hypothetically. So at this point, the child is prepared. That's why you see children at this stage, some of them can even write books. Some of them will start doing exploits. Of course, we know in the scripture when Jesus was 12, we know, the kind of, that is when his exploit started. At the age of 12, the child should be prepared for life. But some parents are waiting for the child to grow. Say, when he's still a child, when he grows, we'll start doing, you have missed it. You have missed it. Okay, at this formal operational stage, what do we look at this at the child? They say the ability to think abstractly, logically, and hypothetically. Then secondly, ability to solve complex problems. Ability to solve complex problems. At this point, you see that children that have high IQ, at this point, some of their IQs will even be higher than that of their parents. That's why I say don't joke with a child. At this stage, you see the child's IQ will become so high, sometimes higher than that of their parents. So that's why we are not supposed to joke with upbringing of a child. When you miss them at that tender age, you have missed a lot. You have missed a lot. So the child begins to learn how to solve complex problems. Then again, the child begins to develop deductive reasoning. He begins to develop deductive reasoning. So at this point, the child is prepared. Is prepared for exploit. Is prepared to impact the world. He's been given the foundation. He's been given what it takes to make his mark in the sand of time. Okay. Next slide. Okay. I think we have gone far. This is almost 10 minutes. That's 10 minutes to 9. Yes, at this point, I will be rounding up now. I'll be rounding up. Okay. So this is okay. That is we are actually coming to the end, of this program. Yes, and I believe that we have learned, we have at least gotten one or two things from here that you will be able to implement in the life of your children. I believe that you're able to, even if not many, I believe that there have been something you have learned, today that will help you to nurture your child. I believe the Bible says, write down your vision, make it plain upon the tablet, so that he that reads may run with it. So you have gotten the knowledge. It's time to begin to run with it. So if you look at the screen now, you see the book, authored by me, The Path to Raising Bright and Confident Child. So some of these principles, some of these activities have been, compressed in this book. You have 37 activities, you can carry out on a weekly basis, because there are 37 weeks in a year. So that are some activities, activities that will help you, to be able to nurture the child, just as I said, this child is just passing through you. This child is a star, or these children, they are stars that God has sent to pass through you. So it is your duty to learn. The Bible says, study to show yourself approved. It is your duty to learn how to nurture this child, because God will not accept any excuse, just like the parable of the talent. When you are able to use what you have, you will have more. The servant that did not use his gift, that buried his gift, they collected the one he has, and it was given to the one that has more. And the Bible says, he that has shall have more. He that doesn't have, even that one he has, shall be taken away from him. So everybody has something. You can't say you don't have anything. So this book will guide you on, activities, strategies, principles you can follow on a daily basis to nurture a bright and confident child. Okay, without wasting much time, yes, I will give room okay, this book is just 3,000 naira. If you want it, you can see the detail on the Facebook, or you can, DM me, or you can go to the Facebook, the page, you can see the account details there. You make your payment, you forward. I will send you the soft copy. This is 3,000 naira. Good. Okay, before I'll continue, I want to respond to questions. Do you have a question? I don't want this webinar to exceed 9 o'clock. We have questions, or you want to say something? You are free. Okay. Do we have any question before we conclude, for the night? Or any remark? Okay. If there's no question, okay, and let me, summarize. Just as I said before, nothing happens by chance. Nothing happens by chance. When you see a child exuding so much confidence, doing so well, it means that someone is doing the underground work. It does not occur by chance. Just as we are about to, children are about to go into summer holiday, long holiday. What are you doing with these children at home? What are you doing with them? You just send them for holidays, say go and play. For intentional parents, this is the time for you to get them. This is the time for you to get them. Buy books for them, engage them in sports, engage them in learning activities, engage them in indoor games that will develop their cognitive abilities, engaged in programs, in things that will build them up. It's a very good opportunity. So if you have not yet subscribed, to this YouTube channel, I encourage you to go subscribe, follow us up. We are going to be dropping tips. We are going to be sending voice notes that will help you. We promise you that we are going to give you the best. What we know, we are going to give you the best, because just as I said before, this I passed through some of these experiences. I passed through it, and I know what it feels, to be in this condition, to be stigmatized, to have, be in a home where you can't even ask questions, where you don't even have the support at home. And I've understudied this, and I've found out what makes the difference. So I'm going to be dropping some hints, some tips, information that will help you to groom your children to become what God has destined that they will become. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Do you have any question, or do you have anything to chip in before we call it a day? Okay, okay. I think we have come to the end of this program, and have a very good night. Thank you.